All right, can everybody hear me all right? Okay. My name is Leila Corey. I'm the Creative Engagement Coordinator at Spaces, and I'm going to be moderating tonight's discussion with the artists featured in our 2021 Season Pass Members Exhibition. To ID my appearance, I'm a 27-year-old Arab American woman. I'm wearing a white knitted short sleeve sweater. I have long wavy brown hair and a very sparsely furnished but tidy living room behind me. And I'd like to begin by saying that Spaces recognizes the land upon which our building resides as the ancestral homeland of the Lenape or Delaware tribe, Shawnee, Wendat, Miami, Ottawa, Potawatomi, Haudenosaunee, and other Great Lakes tribes, including but not limited to the Chippewa, Kickapoo, Way, Piankashaw, and Kaskaskia. We further acknowledge the thousands of Indigenous people who now call this region home as a result of forced migration, dispossession of ancestral homelands and territories, or other reasons. We affirm their right as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. We make this statement recognizing that intentionally or not, we have participated in ongoing settler colonialism, a term that is generally recognized to mean the removal, erasure, and supplantation of Indigenous peoples. We commit to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. A bit about us. Spaces is the resource and public forum for artists who explore and experiment. We are the only alternative art organization in Ohio that solely commissions new artist projects, serving as a national model for how to materialize artists' ideas and interact with audiences. Our success is rooted in providing artists the kind of support rarely seen outside major institutions, which has led to ambitious new projects that have reached an international stage and expanded artists' practices. And just so everybody knows, this talk will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel as well as our website. While I'm on that topic, we encourage you to visit our website and cast your vote for our People's Choice winner. One selected artist from this exhibit will receive a studio visit with Spaces Executive Director Tiziana Baldonegro, and Spaces Project Coordinator Mallory Freeman will drop the link for that in our group chat. And finally, in addition to that, we ask that you fill out a brief questionnaire that we ask of all visitors of our exhibits and virtual programming, and Mallory will leave that link in the chat as well. So as I introduce the work of our artists, please feel free to mute your microphone if you haven't already. That can be found at the bottom center of your screen to the left of the end call button. And after the artists have had a chance to share their work with us, we'll open the floor for questions and discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So the Season Pass Members Exhibition is an annual group show celebrating the work of our artist members. Tonight we're joined on this call by our 2021 member artists, George F. Kocar, Chi-Irena Wong, Barbara Martin, Lauren Charlene Havel, Eileen Dorsey, Leigh Brooklyn, and Timothy Herron. Unfortunately, Lena Atomika was not able to join us tonight, but we will spend a moment with her work as well. Other exhibiting artists include Laura De La Sandro, Dale A. Goode, Alex Hurd, David F. Heatwole, Tessa Lebaron, Ashley Lynn, Samantha Schneider, I apologize, Samantha Schneider is actually with us, and Grace Summanen. Pictured on the left here is Dale A. Goode's work with Leigh Brooklyn's painting. The members exhibition will be on view through March 19th, so if you haven't already, you can plan your visit by reserving a free time ticket on our website. But without further ado, I'm going to share images from our show and pass the mic over to each of our artists who are on the call with us. So to the artists, I ask that you start with a visual ID of yourself, then tell us a bit about your practice as well as the work that you have on view at Spaces. If you could give us the title, medium, year that your work was made, and some general thoughts, that would be great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chi-Irena Wong. I am an artist. Oh, I need to do my ID, right?
Yes, if that's all right with you.
Yes, no problem. Sorry, I almost forgot about that. Yes, my name is Irina. I am of Asian descent. I am Chinese. I have black hair that is tied back in a ponytail right now. I am wearing big metal framed glasses. I am wearing a beige colored shirt, long sleeve shirt. Right now, I am sitting in my bedroom with white walls, or like beige color walls, off white color walls, and yeah, I hope that helps.
Mhm.
And then, how do you want me to go about talking about this, Leah?
So if you'd like to just begin by telling us about your practice and then about the work specifically in the show. And I've got a second slide for you here with the other two. So anytime you'd like me to flip between the two, I can do that.
All right, thank you so much. So a little bit about my work. My work is about creating a fantasy world that is humorous, absurd, and funny. Oftentimes in this world, I will ask myself these what if questions, and I use them as prompts to create these watercolor drawings. And oftentimes, my work is done in watercolor on paper. Um, Sometimes they are also in sculpture form, where I create little dioramas out of glass and wood and beads and little scrap materials I have lying around. And so the pieces I selected that are in Spaces members show, for example, this one, the question I asked myself was, what if there were fish-shaped buildings? And so what you're seeing right now is fishes that are in buildings, like fish architectures. And then can you move to the next slide? Thank you. So the drawing that is on the left-hand side, this one is titled Shoe Hat. I made it in 2019. The question I asked myself was, what if shoes are worn as hats? And so I made this little store where shoes are recreated to be worn as hats. And this little character is the shoe hat maker, is what I call him. The drawing on the right-hand side, this one is called Wandering. I created it in 2018. Some of my drawings they sometimes don't have a question. Instead, I actually focus on what these characters might be doing, since I create a lot of make-believe characters. And so for this glass piece I'm talking about is this one little tiny character that is always wandering and always having a journey, discovering like small happy moments or small discoveries along the way. And that ends my little talk.
Thank you so much, Irina. These are so great.
Thank you.
Lauren.
Hi, I'm here. Hi, my name is Lauren Havel. I am 25 years old. I identify as female. I am Caucasian. I have brown hair in the front, or in the back, and then colorful hair in the front. I'm wearing dark purple frames, and I have cheetah picture on this thing. And I'm gonna just briefly start talking about my practice. I like to tell short, quirky stories in my painting. Well, sometimes sad, they're sometimes funny, and they're sometimes both. I'm really interested in mark making, so I use smooth surfaces that allow brushstrokes to be apparent, and the paint kind of glides all over. So yeah, I play with cooling and stuff like that a lot. This painting here is called Love Ain't No Fairy Tale. I wanted to paint the idea of an emotional hangover. So the dull, kind of numb feeling you have after a heightened emotional event. So I used watercolor on panel to make this kind of cooling image of a trash can holding wilted flowers in the morning light. The next painting, thank you, which is called Motel Oasis. I used a process of glazing oil paint and then kind of sanding it back to create that hazy atmospheric business going on in the background. And I wanted to explore ideas of seclusion. So there's this anonymous figure basking in the solitude of this motel pool, and the figure seems at peace with their seclusion or their isolation. And then my final painting here with the duck, it's called Der Einhorn, which means the unicorn in German. And it's based off an observational study I did. I was walking down the street and I saw this glowing duck in somebody's window, and I felt really compelled to make a drawing of it, take that back to my studio and paint it. So
I don't think so.
and
Is
I felt like
Barbara
the duck
on and muted?
kind of acts as this ambiguous omen. You're not sure if it's telling you something good or bad is gonna happen, but it's telling you something's gonna happen. And I like playing with this duality of the duck seeming cute, but there's something sort of evil about the duck's eyes. So those are my paintings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And I know we've got Eileen and Dorsey.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting this together. My name's Eileen Dorsey. I am a 38-year-old female with silver shoulder-length straight hair. I have light brown eyes. I'm wearing an olive green knitted sweater, and I am currently sitting in my studio with dark teal walls and a bunch of paintings and random things around. So a lot of these paintings are pretty recent. The first two, actually the first one on the left is called Spectrum Shift, which is a 38 by 68 oil painting. And then the one on the, it's 38 by 68 inches, and the one on the right is 5 feet by 8 feet. And I created that in 2019, end of 2019. And this one is yellow background, and I created this in 2017. So I've been painting landscape paintings for a little while now, and I started focusing on painting wooded scenes. And for a long time, I didn't really know why I was doing that. And then I discovered through some kind of meditation of sorts that it was, I used to play in the woods as a child, and I do still as an adult, but it was always my place where I'd go and be by myself and explore. And I kind of have this otherworldliness that comes over me every time I go hiking, and it happens to me all the time. All of a sudden I'll see the lights shift, and then this like color kind of takes over, and I'm just really inspired, and I think it's such a beautiful place. So I've been trying to capture these images of local scenes mostly right now, and so most of my current work is all Cuyahoga County, the Cuyahoga Valley, sort of metro parks inspired. So now we're back to Spectrum Shift. I created a 6 monochromatic small paintings in the rainbow colors, and just as a study, just keeping fresh and trying to figure out color choices to use. And I wanted to challenge myself to see if I can create a seamless painting. So this is kind of like a challenge painting for me. This is why I did that. And then the one on the right, I've been trying to, I'm going to keep this short, so sorry. But I've been trying to create like you're being kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I wanted to have larger limbs in the foreground and really try to push perspective, like branches are coming out at you, which is why it's called branching out. So, did I give it, was that enough? I don't know if I talked about enough. I don't want to take up everyone's time. So
you are fine. Don't worry about that at all. If there's anything else you'd like to add, that's great. But if not, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, there's oil paintings. I'm painting with a palette knife for most of them. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Eileen. The next is an artist who I'm really excited she was able to join, Leigh Brooklyn.
I found out about this last minute, so I'm here now. My IG, I'm in my early 30s, Caucasian, long blonde straight hair. I'm sitting, I have a green shirt on, army green shirt, and sitting in my studio. I have a painting behind me. It's in progress, and it's shades of brown right now, and then some other stuff. Okay, so this piece in the show, I did it in like 2018. My friend, I just moved back here, and my friend made this cosplay outfit of Pink Girl, if you read comic books, and I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to paint her, and I liked that she had the target on her shirt, and but when she was posing in this cosplay, she had a toy gun, and then her boyfriend came and said, you know, do you guys want to pose with one of my real guns? And I was like, yes, let's talk about guns in America, right? So she's holding the semi-automatic gun with target on her shirt, and I painted that. While I was doing the painting, the Parkland shooting happened, and that whole March for Our Lives thing was happening, and so this piece was very relevant to the time. And so I wanted to show a way that, you know, all the youth, I guess, that lost their lives early, how to represent that in a way that wasn't so graphic. So I was like, I'm going to put these like teddy bears on the ground that are like kind of slumped over. And she had all these pins on her shirt, and so I changed all these pins to represent the different mass shootings. So if you see it in person and you see it up close, there's like one for Columbine, there's one for like Las Vegas, there's one that has like Batman and Fort Hood, and there's all this symbolism all over the whole painting. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's just like the details in it are really, it's really cool in person. So the piece, you know, for me, you know, it kind of started this new series for me of painting these women as these militia soldiers, because, you know, when I showed the painting in New York, you know, a little girl came in and saw it and said she wanted to be like that when she grew up, because she saw this strong woman. So I started taking, now because of this painting, dressing up all these other women in these militia, like military apocalyptic soldier type outfit. Women would sort to these abandoned places around Cleveland, photographing them, and now I'm painting them. And so, you know, behind me is a painting I'm working on that's part of the series, and I'm really excited to finally be showing some artwork here in Cleveland. I don't know what else to say. It's a good piece. You should see it in person.
Thank you, Leigh. And where can we keep an eye out for the other work in the series?
Well, it's fitting. I have a show coming up. It might not be this series, next month with District Gallery, and then I'm working on a couple solo shows. One's in Indiana, and reaching out to some places in New York. I'll keep you guys updated.
Thank you.
I'm George Kocar. I'm an old person. No, my white hair, and a blue shirt that has a dog on it. I'm 72 years old. I've been one of the oldest members of Spaces in their history, along with Jeff Shipless. Um, the paintings, my studio's in my house, and I pretty much paint every day for the last few years since I stopped working at American Greetings. I used to work at American Greetings, and then I had once they did downsize me, I worked for part-time teaching at a couple of universities at Akron and Tri-C and Ashland University for about 10 years, and then they downsized me kind of. And so I've been painting every day. That's all I do, and which is the best thing you can do. I mean, and I don't miss all the other stuff there at all. My paintings are cartoony, funny stuff. All the paintings that the three big paintings this year. So I only got to do like 3 big paintings this year, bigger paintings. One's called Captain Comics. It's homage to superheroes. And the other one's called Mad About Monk. It's actually my 3rd version of Mad About Monk. I've done 2 other versions. This is what I did. Because of the COVID, I started thinking about disease and people being sick, and of course, I started going back to Monk, who and the panic and the fear that puts into some of his paintings. And last painting is called the Tin Man Steps Out, which is the Tin Man. It's a painting about a metaphor for using the Wizard of Oz, and so I have this Tin Man walking, and behind him got this lion, the card lion. And he's supposed to be an artist in his career path. Yeah, in the beginning, you're kind of afraid to go, don't know what people think about your work or what's going to happen. And then, of course, you got the Scarecrow and flying monkeys tearing them apart. And of course, they are the art critics, the people that tell me you're doing everything wrong. And then you got the Tin Man who walking around his path, confident he's going to succeed in his career. And as you can see the bottom of the screen, he's about ready to step on a banana, which is going to trip him up. So he can always be tripped up in your career. Being an artist is a long career. It's a hard job. It's one of the hardest jobs. I'm very fortunate that I've been an artist for since I got out of college, and for 45 years. So it's I'd be very confident, very fortunate that I could do that. That's all about me.
Thank you so much, George.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm German-Irish descent, about 6 foot tall. I'm 66 years old, and I'm 180 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes, and that's pretty much all I can tell you there. If you want to know about my work, I can tell you my personal life. I'm basically a plein air painter for the last several years. I love to go on location and paint. And this particular painting, all I wanted to do is do a painting of the Flatiron Cafe. And I didn't want to take a large canvas there to paint because of the wind and the size. So I took drawing pads and I went down there and I parked myself by the swing bridge across the street. And night after night after night after night, I'd take notes and studies of the building, the next door building, the bridge in the background, the gas station in the background, the street. And when I had all these notes, I went to a friend's house, Ron Naso, and I set up my canvas and I started to transfer my images over there. But what happens for me in a lot of my plein air paintings is that after absorbing this information for so long, not copying a photograph, but being there on location, seeing the building, seeing the street, seeing the bridge, seeing the time, the day. Things start to play in your mind and you can almost envision a scenario taking place. And I've always had fun with 50s UFOs. And then after near the end of my painting of the building, I started to go into the surreal aspects of what would be fun to do with it. And I put my UFO in there. And then with my UFO, I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have an old mural on the side of the wall. We'll put Trump on there. We'll make it 30 years in the future. And then came the truck that would be picked up by the UFO. And this whole vision started to come to place. But none of this was there when I started the painting. None of it. And then after that, I thought, you know what, I'll have some aliens coming in. And I'll have children with guns protecting the world. And the only images of children with guns I get were from the Middle East. So I made them Muslim. Why not? Because we're getting in a culture now where we're combining everyone must have a gun with everything else. So what it is basically, war makes strange bedfellows. That's the name of the piece. If you look at our situation now in history, our closest friend, the United States and the Middle East, is Saudi Arabia. Who's responsible for 9/11? Saudi Arabia. Who's responsible for beheading the American journalists? Saudi Arabia. What have we done to them? Nothing. War makes strange bedfellows. And in this case, I even heard an interview with Ronald Reagan saying the same thing, that if we were being invaded by aliens, we wouldn't have any problems with one another on mankind. We'd all be buddies trying to survive. And ironically, it was today I heard him say that. It must have been an old speech of his. So that's where I am right now. I finished that one, and surprisingly, I had a hard time showing it. There is a Confederate flag on the truck for those looking at this piece. It's to symbolize the far right. The Muslim kids that symbolize the far left. And in this world, if we were being attacked by an outer source, there would be no divisions. We'd all be trying to survive together. And because I had the rebel flag in the truck, I tried to have it at a solo show earlier, and they banned it from the show. I entered it in a Chagrin Falls show, and they didn't accept it. Now, maybe they didn't like the piece, very understandable. Maybe they didn't like the symbolism, which I may suspect would be the reason. So it's tough for me to get a place to show this painting, and I'm glad Spaces took a chance to let me to show it. That's it for now. Anything else I can tell you?
Thank you, Tim.
So we have Laura D'Alessandro is a Cleveland-born fine art photographer, writer, curator, and educator. Her photography is included in numerous private and museum institutional collections in Cleveland and throughout the country, as well as internationally. She graduated from the Cleveland Institute of Art with a BFA and at the School of Visual Arts in New York City, earning her MFA. She was an art photography professor in New Orleans for 7 years, and affiliated with the New Orleans Photo Alliance and Photo NOLA Festival of Photography, which inspired her to find the Cleveland Photo Festival, established in 2019, for which she is a director. She's also co-curator of Parma Art Space and Gallery in Parma, Ohio. And I believe the titles of her works are, let's just go to the sheet. Also works in photographic construction. I believe, I don't know which order they are in, however, because we are looking at them horizontally rather than vertically. And I believe the top, the one to the left is Meds 2 from 2019. It's photographic construction. The center, which I believe is the one on the right, all the way to the right, is Hypnagogia. Also photographic construction from 2019. And the bottom, which would be the center, is Meds 1, same media. And that's where we are.
Thank you, Mallory.
So Lena Atomika is not present, but she would like us to share her work and her statement. And so this comes from the artist's bio and statement. My life was profoundly affected by a near-death experience in December 2010 when a redwood tree crashed through the roof of the cabin where I was staying, pinning me beneath it, wall and all. This life-altering experience has inspired me to step into my full potential and has empowered me beyond words. My focus is human resilience, and my intent is to inspire others who may be facing a challenge and/or struggle themselves. My soul has stirred and more than knocked on a door. It came in the form of a redwood tree, crashing into my life and onto me. What are you doing? Are you present? Do you want to live? I mean, really live, not just exist. Are you going to do what you came here to do? I'm here to remind you so that you will never forget. I am multidisciplined, creative, photographer, actor, writer, dancer, with a BA in interior design from Kent State, who is inspired by life and being in the moment. Many of my images are just that, improvised inspirations or spontaneous art, as I like to call it. I take joy in creating images that are unique, taking natural and structured images and giving them an abstract twist. I am inspired by human interactions with nature and our surroundings. There is much beauty to be found and many lessons to be learned in our world. So my subject matter covers the gamut. From scenic to still lives to portraiture and everything in between, there are no limits on the limitless. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and unshare my screen here. And from this point on, the floor is open to discussion. So if anybody has a question or a comment, feel free to just jump in. And if you're not one of the artists and you haven't already spoken, just give us a quick introduction of who you are.
I'll speak. I have a question. Hi, everyone. I'm Tiziana Baldenebro. I'm the director here at Spaces. I have a black sweater, black hair, clear acetate glasses, a goldish chain, and I'm in my office. And for those who are not familiar with the visual ID practice, I did just want to say that is something that helps visually impaired participants fully engage in the experience. So that's why we are asking all of you to do that. And so, yeah, we are so excited about this show. And even as the works were starting to come in, Mallory and I were trying to, just that kind of curator's mind, you start to try to organize all of the works in the show and think about how they kind of form a statement or how they form a cohesive articulation of art today and art now. And we saw a lot of like lonely figures or isolated figures or psychedelic landscapes or, and so my question, I guess, to the broad audience was this in response to, were these all works in response to the moment, in response to sort of this kind of moment of isolation where you're sort of interrogating your mind and plumbing those depths to come up with these really radical encounters with canvases? And I throw that out to anyone.
I actually painted all the paintings I had submitted. So I was kind of, for my VFA thesis show, I was working with isolation within a crowded space. So it was kind of interesting that the pandemic kind of added that layer of isolation to my work. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you got a little bit bumped there from some audio. We do. It looks like Tim may be rejoined. Tim, are you here after all? Just to go back to that. And then I do want to address, there's a question in the comments that I wanted to make sure that we addressed. So this is a members show, and it was in fact juried. Our juror did drop out. I think there was a recognition that our artist members of color maybe did not feel like they did not participate, and so our juror recused himself, but he did select all of the artists who were in the show. And I think that this really was it's a really beautiful show. I'm incredibly pleased with it, and we're all really happy to have it in the gallery. And especially to the point that Lauren brought up just a second ago about these kinds of experiences that you're encountering with art, and how it has these added layers of the moment. It really does heighten the legibility and the sort of like intense questioning that we do and scrutiny that we have of art, especially painted art on canvas, and how it remains relevant today. It's one of the oldest forms of art, and its relevancy still is ongoing. And it has been a while since Spaces has actually had a painted show. So we have a very high representation of paintings, which is very, very wonderful to see. So, yeah. Are there any other sort of questions that you guys have for one another, or just general thoughts that you guys have in response to working as an artist in the times of COVID?
More time, that's for sure. A lot more time to paint, and so I mean, as far as the reaction to the moment, I think, my work, I just continue to paint these images I've been doing for so many years, and I go different narratives, and I just go from one thing to another, and I get another theme. Some of my more newer paintings have been a lot more grips and more painterly, more have actually pop art images with the dots and almost like a processing. So I'm putting all these different elements together, and then put some cartoon figure in it, and make it funny. I make it funny. But so
I love that idea of humor sort of being instigated as a reaction to this. I think that that it sort of creates this like layer of protection against stress, like if you're constantly dealing with things in this humorous way, like even the sort of, like I know so many artists who've just like literally been working all of their lives and haven't had the attention of the art world work in their favor. And so I love this idea that you have of like the Tin Man slipping on a banana peel. It's just like, yeah, you could be plugging along your entire life, checking all of the boxes as an artist, getting all of the accolades that you want, and still end up slipping on that banana peel at the end. So yeah, I love that. I think that there are quite a few humorous moments throughout the show that you sort of just like look and, Chi-Irena, I think that your works also are quite funny. And I just like love the idea of like a shoe hat, and then it sort of motivates an entire universe, a microcosm. Do you want to? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your approach to introducing humor as a method of practice in your art?
Yes, thank you. So humor, we all like various forms of humor, and I typically really like the absurd humor, especially when things just don't make sense, that seem illogical or bizarre. To me, I find that is extremely humorous. So for example, the shoe hat, that was actually something that I saw in real life. It was actually my younger cousin. He was 9 years old. Like 2 years ago, he put his house slipper on his hat, and his mom, which is my aunt, scolded him. I was like, "That's so dirty. Don't do that. Put it down." And so we thought, he and I laughed, and she also kind of laughed. It was like a really humorous moment. And so that question came: what if shoes were actually worn as hats? And I present these questions as like prompts for me to draw this fantasy world of mine, which is essentially supposed to be humorous and absurd. But for the characters in this world, it is seen as very normal. It's just seen as absurd to our eyes because we don't wear shoes on our head. And so that's how I create humor in my work, which is presenting this bizarre scenario or bizarre behavior, which is not familiar to our current world. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about it.
Irena, I have to ask, were any of the buildings, particularly in that first one, Fish City, were any of those buildings inspired by real architecture or real cityscapes? Because they were really convincing.
And also to clue you in, Layla and I are both architectural degree holders.
Oh, really?
So it's a particular excitement for us to see an architectural drawing in an art show.
So I couldn't not say anything.
Thank you. I would love to talk about architecture with you whenever, like afterwards, but regarding my drawing, I personally love architecture. Since usually with Asian cities from like China, Japan, they have very, very high skyscrapers. It's also very cramped. I personally never been to like my home country before, but I've been to like the Chinatown in like New York City, and that's where I gravitate towards, like, which is like that very cramped and architectural setting. And most of my like architecture drawings I practice so often to the point where I can imagine it and try to like perceive it or just draw it from my head now by doing a couple of sketches, and then I'm like, okay, this is the perspective. And so the perspective drawing was like honed throughout the years of simply of me loving architecture and drawing it, and also creating a really, really interesting composition, which is like not seen as often. Instead of having like a person in the middle or like a rule of thirds kind of composition, I personally like to have really, really what do you call it? Not interesting, but wacky perspective, where it's like you're immersed, like the viewer is immersed.
Layla, before we move on to Tim, sorry, we have our night cleaning crew coming, so I'm masked up again. Before we move on to Tim, I just had one quick question for Leigh that was related to cities. So we just and then Tim will make sure that we get to talk about your art in just a second. So Irena was just talking about her encounters with cities and urbanism, and you have this kind of like every dystopian horror film city as your background. Can you talk about like the ideas that you were generating as you were sort of drawing those like city backgrounds?
Yeah, so part of it was compositional with what I was doing, but the painting was originally going to be an underpainting, and I started to add color to it, and I didn't like how it was going, and it started to take away from this apocalyptic look I had going on. But I really like that view. It's kind of like the struggle of the women, and for me, even after that painting, it started me going this direction. But then in like late 2019, my personal life just went, a personal upheaval. It just is crazy. And I felt like I needed to surround myself with all these strong women. And so I feel like my life is a bit of an apocalypse right now. And so I'm building this army of women around me to support me, and they're diverse, and I'm telling their stories. And, it's interesting when I dress them up that their whole face, like their whole expression changes, and they stand taller. And they're ready to fight, no matter like what age or race or anything. They're all like, they feel united in this, and it's just, I don't know. And I also feel like my artwork, if I'm gonna spend a long time on a painting, I want it to mean something. And so like, I use it for activism, and I talk about gun violence, and I talk about Black lives, and I talk about homelessness and transgenders, and try to make a difference in the world with what I'm doing. And like the piece behind me that I'm working on is like, it's like a modern Pieta, but it's also like a Black Lives thing. But it's still, she's one of my soldiers, and it's kind of like all of us go through these battles, but we're, you know, in this together still. We're still standing, we're still strong. So I guess that kind of inspired all of why I have this apocalyptic look and why there's this women's empowerment thing.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Also, I think Eileen Dorsey wanted to say something. I saw she had her hand raised a while back.
Oh yeah. The conversation kind of shifted, so I don't know if it was relevant to what I had to say. But all I was going to, I was commenting on how humor was good for us for the times that we're in right now, and I appreciate the artists that can incorporate that. And, also, I was going to share on how COVID had affected my work, and for me, and I don't know if any other artists kind of feel this way, because I like to work with a lot of color, and I feel like my colors got really drab the first like many months of dealing with the pandemic. Like I was just like emotionally drained, and I think it physically showed in my work. So I was just curious if anyone else had something like very visual that had happened to them or something. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I mean, I think it's such a great question. Like, did anyone have any sort of particularly horrifying art motivating incidents in the past 9 to 12 months?
I mean, my life just kind of went crazy, like late 2019, and that's definitely impacted, it shifted the whole direction of all of my art entirely to only doing women's empowerment and building this army and this apocalypse. And you know, even without the pandemic, my life this last year would have been crazy, but the pandemic just really compounded that. So I hear you. It's definitely, I think, impacted a lot.
Leigh, I'm not familiar with your work so much. What kind of work were you making before?
So I haven't shown in Cleveland, which is why before I moved around the country. I've just moved back, which is probably why you haven't seen much of it. This is actually my first time showing anything in Cleveland. Before that, I did biomedical illustration, and then I left Ohio for like 7 years and just moved back. So, but before that, I was doing a lot of street photography, and I was still focused on like marginalized societies and painting the homeless and transgenders. And now it's just shifted towards just women and this like apocalyptic vibe, which I mean, I like it. I feel like it's strong and unique, but it's definitely shifted where I'm going this whole year.
Yeah, I love the painting. I think it's great.
Thanks.
I'm looking forward to more works that you're making.
Thanks, Eileen.
Yeah. I also feel like I was on a momentum of making some really unique paintings at the very beginning of 2020, and the pandemic hit, and it just like completely threw me off. Yeah. And so I feel like now I'm starting to get back in the momentum now that like I've been getting used to this being a normal thing, you know? So, yeah.
Yep.
I have a question asking for Leah about your woman empowerment pieces. So you mentioned there was a shift where you just started to only focus on woman empowerment pieces. Can you like talk a little bit about that? Like what made you like just started that shift, or what made you want to shift to that? Was there like something that happened, or I just want to hear your thought process.
So basically, I left a very abusive situation, and
I'm sorry.
That's okay, but because of that, it's like you have to find like your inner warrior. And you know, I did a piece of this grenade that said like love on it, which was a symbol for love bombing, but a lot of abusers do, and I did that, and I sold those and to raise money for the domestic abuse shelter here in Cleveland. So that, leaving that and leaving a situation like that, really, it's hard, but it definitely, it's, I think it's making my work just that much more like powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Leigh. I know that's a difficult thing to talk about, and we really appreciate you talking about it in a public forum for sure.
Yeah, well, it's not uncommon. I think, we all have our battles, which is like part of what the series is, that we all have our battles and we all, come together and support one another.
So yeah, I mean, I think we've gotten a really great sampling of the artists. I think our crew is gone. I think we've received a really great sampling of the artworks that are on view. What was the final count? Was it 16 total artists? So it's an impressive number of artists to fit into the gallery, and I think that the works on view are also exciting, and they each have these kinds of opportunities to really dive in and explore each kind of universe that you guys have all created, which is just completely exciting. And, I think one of the best parts is that you guys are in town, so pretty soon we should be hoping to see all of your guys' works in many galleries. And I see, Eileen, you're at 78th Street Studios, right? Is that where your current home base is?
Yes. So feel free to stop by anytime.
Yeah, so I do have a question about that for you, and I guess for everyone else too. I mean, what are your plans for 2021 with respect to sort of like showing and exhibiting, so that we can develop a little bit of a community rapport amongst our members to make sure that we're all going to each other's shows and seeing each other's works and supporting each other.
Well, I'll begin because we still have Third Friday Art Walk. So I will be here every third Friday of the month. We changed the times from 5 to 8 instead of from 5 to 9, and they're ticketed now, so we can keep track of the amount of people that come through. As long, while it's a pandemic. I have a show in the Kane Park Feinberg Gallery in July, which was scheduled for this past year, and it was pushed off to then, so hopefully we can still have it. So who else has something going on?
Is anyone else showing work or finding spaces?
No.
It's a quiet year.
Yeah. I mean, I go to Third Friday, so I see a lot. So I see her Third Friday. But yeah, the shows are still kind of, everything's Zoom or online or who knows what. But some of the shows that I've been doing, the summer shows, are still Kane Park, I guess, probably go ahead. Boston Mothers, which I do a lot. I don't know if they can do it or not, but they were at 50-50, so who knows if there's going to be a show or not. So I don't know. I just got my my COVID shot this week, so I'm halfway safe. Hopefully I'm halfway safe. And so we'll see how it goes. Let's see, like last year I got lucky, but everything canceled, it closed down. Somehow I looked down and got 2 like solo shows, a couple small galleries, and actually sold some paintings, which was kind of a surprise. But actually I've been doing a lot of stuff on eBay, just selling stuff on eBay, and I'm not selling for great amount of money, but I'm selling a lot. Selling like a couple hundred pieces so far this year. So keep on putting stuff on. I got plenty of stuff. So
that's great. And then Lauren, you're in school at the moment, right? Is that what I read in your bio? Am I misremembering that?
I actually recently just graduated from Alfred University,
Okay.
which is in upstate New York. Yeah. So I graduated during the pandemic. which was weird. Like I keep forgetting I actually did that. But I'm in
I would say I think all of the artists will join me in saying that's welcome to life as an artist. There's no celebration. It just is kind of an endless struggle.
So, yeah, but I'm in Kent, and I don't have anything, I don't have any shows upcoming yet, but there are kind of a lot of cool things happening here. Sean Howell, he's a artist and professor at Kent State, so he has like a backyard where he has a gallery in his gazebo. So they're gonna revamp that up in the spring. So yeah, it's like open via appointment. So that's kind of a cool thing that's been popping up here in Kent. So
That's great. And I know that right now Kent is showing an artist that will be in residency here at Spaces. Mallory will be working with the artist as well. So Marie-Georges Lalou, who is an upcoming artist in residence here at Spaces, and he will be here in the summertime, if I'm not mistaken. But right now he has an exhibition up and running at Kent. So check that out too if you're in that neck of the woods. Very exciting stuff. Yeah.
Lauren, I'd like to connect with you because I would love to go and check that out because I graduated from Kent State, so it'd be nice just to get back there and see how it's changed and what the scene is like now. So
yeah, and there's also a faculty show up too, like at the university. So yeah,
awesome.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Are there any other recent graduates or about to graduate? You have Chi-Irena.
Yeah, I also graduated during the pandemic. I graduated last May of 2020, and it was quite untraditional. I graduated from my living room. And I graduated from the Cleveland Institute of Art. Sorry, I didn't mention that. And yeah, regarding upcoming shows, I do not have any upcoming shows scheduled. I am still learning the ropes of being a fine artist and like applying to galleries and whatever opportunities I can get. And I guess I'm still in the waiting phase and also just still applying and still looking and researching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that I know that I've been mentioning quite a bit lately is, there's next year we're going to have the next edition of Front, and I encourage everyone who's an artist to look for ways to either go to Howard Hanna and beg them for a house that they're looking to sell and see if they'll loan it to you and just start showing your own work during Front, because there's going to be like an international set of collectors and art viewers, and it's a really, really great way to make sure that you guys are all getting your work seen by these like international audiences when they come to town. So yeah, yes, Eileen. I like the hand raise.
Last time there was the Front Triennial happened, there was a local movement. It was called the Can Triennial.
Yes.
The Can Journal, and I'm pretty sure they're planning on having another show. And so look for ways to apply to that locally. I'm sure there'll be something.
Yeah. Or
follow them online or subscribe to their emails because opportunities will be coming soon.
Yeah. So there's lots of really great upcoming exhibition opportunities. I think especially for like the big Front sort of festivities. And then of course, if you do have sort of like longer, like ongoing projects that you're working on. Of course, we have the Urchin Art Fund and the Satellite Fund, and those are juried by 3 individuals and 5 individuals, I think, for a Satellite Fund. And those are pretty generous grants of $6,000 for 10 projects. My brain is getting a little bit tired at 7 o'clock. But we have the Urgent Art Fund, which is currently open and is rolling applications. So if you have a larger project that you think about working and presenting, that's one project, or that's one opportunity for you guys to apply. Another really great opportunity for you guys to apply is the Satellite Fund, which will be announced later on in this year. So yeah, lots of really great ways to find funding. This is kind of a weird place because there's such a wealth of like love for art and the institutions are actually pretty well funded, so it's really great, and I'm really excited that you guys are all in this arts community, and we're always happy to be celebrating our members, especially in this way. I'm really devastated that we can't have a really exciting opening bash. I wish we were all sort of like immune in Cleveland in our own little bubble of immunity, but we're really hopeful. If the numbers do look like they're improving, we'll probably make an earlier announcement for a closing event, which is really what I would like to do. It's kind of hard to say that now. I don't have a crystal bubble, and things keep going good, bad, you know, so until there's a really market improvement, you know, I don't know that we can promise that, but it is something that I hope that we will be able to offer, because we love celebrating this. The Members Show has been such a mainstay of Spaces' exhibition programming. It's a really great way to celebrate all of those artists who are in and around our atmosphere, and that includes all of you guys. So thank you so much. Mallory, I did want to say a massive kudos to you. This was a huge organizing effort. Mallory, also, for those of you who don't know, is actually quite new to Spaces as well. Like, she hasn't been here for very long, and so this is her first Members Show. It was an enormous effort, making sure that all of the works were installed, and thank you, Sierra. Sierra is our guru for all things Urgent Art Fund. 10 projects to receive grants of $5,000 to be distributed throughout 2021. So she has the link there. And then Mallory's lights go out. You're being unceremoniously kicked out of our building. But yeah, so I mean, you know, thank you to Mallory. I know that it was a really massive effort, and getting all of those works up. You did a really terrific job with the installation. Thank you to all of the artists. It was really great to see all of your work sort of trickle in, and then all of a sudden they were up, and it was great. It's a really beautiful room. We are free, open to the public, by appointment, which, you know, we do request that you make via spacescle.org. There's a couple of links there. And yeah, do you guys have any sort of last questions, thoughts, comments?
I just want to say one last thing. I did drop the link for the Cannes Triennial in the chat. So if anybody wanted to link there, you can. It is a few messages back, but it's back there.
Yeah, also Laura mentioned that she's busy at the moment with the Cleveland Photo Fest, launching Photothon 2021 in May and June. That sounds super interesting. I was not hip to that event, so if any artists here or any artists listening work in photo-based practices, that could be something of interest.
Oh yeah, and then the other final thing. So I mean, if you guys do have thoughts, and we're happy to hold this until 7:30. But Sierra also dropped a link on the left. It is a quick survey, a quick visitor survey, so it helps us keep the organization free and open to the public. And so if you do have a moment, please click on that link, fill out the survey, and yeah, thank you all. Kudos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, I have a question for Tiziana. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I get your contact information? I really want to talk about architecture, and get who else?
No,
was
yeah,
into
all of our
architecture?
contact information is actually available. If you go to our website and you go to the About page, like you'll see my email, you'll see Mallory's and Layla's. Yeah, so we're all
Got it.
pretty open organization.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful evening. Happy Thursday.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
It was so lovely meeting you all.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.